Shooting it raw?
Yes. Shooting it raw. Okay, so this is an illustration. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so what it is a figure that is androgynous, potentially female, wearing these kind of... Okay, so the background is this like coniferous kind of thing. It could be like it's the color palette is a lot of blues, very cool, white. There's like the hints of these coniferous trees, but it's all in silhouette. And this figure is wearing lots of, all the color palette's all browns, except for the eyes, which are the same kind of icy blue. Has a kind of a sword, I think. Looks like one of those sort of travelers in a fantasy kind of space, holding what could be a samurai sword / lightning bolt. It's kind of got a cartoony feel in the sense that there are different layers of how you'd compose the kind of the scene. Is it manga-esque, or how would you say it?
Yeah, I get it's like a random person's illustration, so it doesn't come from any book or any anything specific. So it's not fan fiction or fan art. So it's not that you didn't make this?
Nope. Okay, so when I get sued,
yeah,
I'm coming for you.
No, yeah.
I'm just joking. Okay, so why this one?
So this was done by someone on a subreddit on reddit.com.
Okay.
So I'm bipolar. It's one of the reasons I write about mental health is because I myself was diagnosed as bipolar about 10, 12 years ago.
Oh, okay.
And this comes from the bipolar subreddit, one of the bipolar subreddits on reddit.com. And it was someone who had been very depressed for quite a while. And then they drew this remarkable picture because a lot of people process their episodes or their periods of being down or up with art. And I commented on this one and a whole bunch of other people did. The person responded to me. We had like a short sort of like conversation, and it really struck me because, it's a bit weird, but I told the person that like, there are different ways of trying to imagine the mental health struggle, because it is in some ways trying to overcome something about your innate nature or something that, you have that's keeping you down in some way or it's affecting you, whatever. And so I told them that like, this picture is kind of like you, man. Like after dealing with all of this, your blue blade literally there is like your positivity and all your tactics that you've been using in this battle to hold back this negativity and this overwhelming mental health condition.
Yeah.
And they were like, thanks. They were like, yeah, man, that's like where he's like, like, can I swear in this thing or not really, right? Or
this podcast is listened only by children who are 4 years old.
That's what I thought.
So go fuck shoot.
So like, fuck yeah, man. I was like, she's like, fuck yeah, that is totally it. And we did like a virtual fist bump basically. And it was. I talk to a lot of bipolar people because I'm also an ambassador for Mind HK, the mental health charity.
Oh, okay.
So I've done like mental health related events. I recently did a mental health poetry event. It was our first Peel Street poetry event that was dedicated purely to mental health. And we had ambassadors from Mind HK who have basically outed themselves as people who struggle with mental health things just so they can talk about it, normalize it, get rid of the stigma.
Right.
And they all wrote poems and they performed it.
Nice.
They weren't the regular poets. In the end, I couldn't make the event because I was sick, funnily enough. Again, they process it through art, but there's a universal almost vocabulary that people I have never met that have the same condition as me have, where they'll talk about things like how these voices are like demons in their heads. Like they externalize the voices. The voices aren't them because they are saying things that are like literally at worst kill yourself.
Right.
And even at best when you're manic, like do really dumb shit or like, I don't know, Kanye, run for president, right? So anyway, this was like, this really struck me because I was like, yeah, this is you, man. Like this is you. This is how I feel sometimes. And it's its own sort of like heroic manifestation of overcoming this struggle. And like, I like the symbolism a bit. I wrote a poem once, when I was really high about, or after an acid trip. where now that I know I can say whatever I want, where I like imagined I'd met Ganesh, the Hindu god, except he had like, and he like gave me a sword, but the sword was like this blue crystal blade that looked like something from Final Fantasy, the video game series. Yeah. And he like explained to me how this was like a mental tool for dealing with your depression.
Nice.
And it was like, well, and so I don't know, man, like, so the blue blade, I was like, this, the whole thing resonates with me.
So one of the things that the connections I'm making, well, one, in terms of the illustration, if you look at the color palette, it's pretty much sort of separated into like one set, which are blues, and one, it's very cool. So it's a lot of blues, and there's not pure black, but there's kind of black, and then the other set is the warm brown tones, right? So the figure is brown. The standing on brown ground,
almost grass. Orange, right?
Yeah. So it's orange to brown. Yeah. The figure has the oh look, it's the Hong Kong bird.
Oh yeah, the kite. Yeah.
No, the jackhammer.
Oh, the jackhammer. Because we do get a lot of kites here too. Yeah. Our old friend.
It actually happened when I was recording with Heinrich as well.
Oh God.
It was kind of funny. Okay, but yeah, so there's that, and now in terms of.
You kind of like get a binary thing going, which is also like the bipolar thing, you know, you have two sides, two colors.
In terms of a convergence, like a previous guest, just two or three guys, Katie Love, her name's Katie Love, and her mom, she suspected her mom was bipolar, and her mom killed herself when Katie was 9, and Katie was the one who found her, and she went into stand-up comedy.
Huh.
So it's interesting how, to me, convergence of ideas and of people and all this stuff, you know, the soundscape is great. No, just convergence of people and ideas is fascinating to me because on some level it's influenced because of, you know, who I reach out to and how we met. And then somehow, and if we did a Venn diagram or whatever, it would all kind of make sense. But that image is way too complex for me to decode. So I'm just like, so to me, it's like almost this random encounter with you, but it's not
what
totally
connects us
random.
all together, right?
Yeah.
Like this train,
Okay, so this is kind of how my questions go. I just talk for a while and then I say, now you take it from there. Here's the baton. Where do we go in terms of mental health, in terms of artistic expression, in terms of how you want to put yourself into the world?
It's like one of those things that I like don't really think about. I just kind of do, I guess. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, but I feel like so with Mind HK, they have this thing about stigma.
Okay.
And mental health stigma, like negative beliefs about people and about mental health. Like, I think the most common one is that it's your fault and it's a lack of willpower and it's a weakness and you're crazy and you should hide it. Right. Especially in Hong Kong. Yeah, especially in Hong Kong. Like, statistically, it's huge numbers of people that believe that.
Exactly. And well, so I'm interrupting, I know, but the reason is because for a listener non-Hong Kong, you think, because, you know, if your frame of reference is in the US or UK or Canada, or wherever, these nations that have a slightly more developed understanding of mental health, you're probably separated from, in Hong Kong, yes, you really do have the sense that it has to be hidden. Yeah.
And even though it's better in the US and the UK, I still think there's a big gap between the ideal level of understanding we should have about mental health and where we are. Because, like, I'll give you an example. Kanye West gets so much freaking hate recently because he does really dumb, stupid things. And he's racist towards Jews, apparently. He's anti-Semite, apparently. And he tried to run for president. Now, like, not saying he's not an asshole, right? Like, maybe he is, maybe he isn't. But the problem is that when he's in the throes of a bipolar, unmedicated bipolar experience, there are literally classic manic symptoms that pretty much fit exactly his behavior, right? Like, he is too powerful and too rich and has no one that's moderating or is control of his life, right? And so, like, when I hear about all this stuff with him, yeah, I think anti-Semitism is pretty bad. But at the same time, I can't help but feel empathy for this guy and feel like he's a sick person.
Yeah. Fighting a battle.
He's fighting his own battle. And people just hate him. Like, there is so much hate on Twitter for him.
But Twitter isn't real people. Twitter is just people sitting in their toilet going, meh.
Yeah, that's but the problem is it drives the dialogue. Because they're the noisiest people, right?
Right.
So then it becomes part of the zeitgeist.
Yeah.
Like, and so even if you don't write on Twitter yourself, you find yourself responding to it, and some people end up agreeing. So it's like, yeah, I totally agree. Like, most people don't necessarily, like, the silent majority don't necessarily post all this crap, right? But it still drives the dialogue, unfortunately.
Okay.
And like, and we've always liked to scapegoat, right? We've always liked to mock someone. So, you know, he gets a lot of mockery on the one hand, and a lot of hate. I'm not saying, you know, save Kanye, but it's still exemplar of how we look at mental health.
Let's be compassionate.
Yeah, exactly. Like actually though, right? Like, because if you experience something like that, you are humbled by the power the mind has over you and your brain.
Oh, for sure.
And I think it like fundamentally shifts the way that you look at yourself and your choices and your behavior on a very basic level. And there's a struggle between self, whatever that is, and your nature, whatever that is, and defining what the self is in the first place. Like, am I the guy that did, especially bipolar, is like, am I the guy that did that dumb shit last night? Right. Or am I the guy that regrets doing that dumb shit last night and now feels depressed? Or am I the guy observing all this crap? Like, you know what I mean? Like, which one am I? I don't know.
Now, here's this to put into your noodle. I was run over by a car.
Oh, wow.
And I had severe brain injury.
Oh, wow.
And so I was paralyzed, I was in a coma.
Oh, my God.
And then I had a period of amnesia, which of course I don't remember. So it's about 2 months.
Wow.
I don't remember. But I was talking and everything.
Huh.
And I can remember coming out of the amnesia in little kind of, it's like coming out of a fog or whatever.
Yeah.
So then the big question, the existential question that raised was, well, where was I? Because I was talking to people and I was doing stuff and I was responding. But where was the me now that's remembering? Because I said things and I did things that were not in character. But then, so how was that identity shaped? Right? Okay. Now, from my own experience with anxiety and, you know, at some point, not everybody, maybe most people, maybe everybody hits rock bottom.
I think so. Yeah.
And then you
Whatever
look
that
back
is for them.
and you see yourself and you're like, I don't recognize myself. That was me.
Yeah.
So as an ambassador to bridge between, I mean, are you bridging people who are within the bipolar sort of struggle to just make sense of their lives? Or are you bridging from the other direction of people who go like, what's the big deal? I don't get it.
I think both. Like, on the one hand, I'm trying to like reach kindred spirits and basically tell them you're not alone and your experience isn't your fault. And these things are explainable and these things are treatable, like to some degree. I mean, it's very tricky. But on the other hand, I'm also appealing to people that know people like that, their family members, their friends. And once you hit that level, you have almost everyone, to be honest, right? Very few people have, at this point, not been touched or known someone that has struggled in some sense with these things, right? But then you're also, and this is the toughest crowd of all, you're reaching the people that are just freaking prejudiced and they just, you know, they just believe certain things. They're kind of stuck in their ways. I don't know if it's possible to build a bridge with those people, or at least I'm not diplomatic enough to do something like that. But it just... You normalize something by talking about it.
Yep.
Even if people disagree with you.
Like here.
It's just visible. Just the visibility alone does something, right?
Absolutely.
So at the very least, bringing up the subject and talking about what it's like and showing someone, this is a person who has this problem, this disease. Look, they aren't batshit crazy and trying to stab you in the face, right? Like, they are your friends. They are your... I mean, this applies to any minority identity that people have a prejudice towards, right? Like... especially, I think things like LGBTQ people as well that had to normalize their identities for other people, and they still have in a lot of places. But, you know, so trying to do all of it, I guess, at the same time. But when I say trying, man, I just like, a lot of it is just talking about my own experiences, my own story, and what I know. I'm not like a trained mental health professional either, and I'm not like I don't know, I don't feel like I'm like a super articulate, you know, whatever. But like,
You're doing just fine. You're doing
Thanks, buddy. Thanks, buddy.
I love it.
That's why I love writing poetry and performing, because I have my own sort of like little social anxieties. You could I keep apologizing, right? I keep fucking apologizing.
You're
because
practically Canadian.
I'm practically Canadian. I sound Canadian. I act Canadian. I should go to Canada. But I love performing because I get to... in a weird way, be myself more, because then I don't have someone else that I'm always worried about and I'm always reacting to. And then I just get to do my piece that I've spent time on and written. And I write a lot of my, not a lot, but a fair amount of my poetry I've written while I've been depressed or while I've been a little bit manic. And when I first started doing that, it was just like, life is shit, life is crap, you know, like over and over again in different ways, right? But now it's become a lot more controlled, and I'll sometimes start writing something to actually make myself not depressed, and it'll begin with all this unhappiness and struggle, and it'll end with hope, or it'll end with this positive energy. And people like those ones.
Well, it's also, it's, I think what it does is it shows that you're using the medium, whatever it is. It could be photography, it could be poetry, it could be cooking, whatever, to wrap your head around this sort of tension or this struggle. I'm afraid we're going to have to move on to the next photo.
That whole question of how do you want to present yourself to the world? It's like one of those questions where if you wake up in the morning and you think it, you're like, oh my God, fuck my life.
Well, it's also,
how do I want to present myself to the world?
It's I put you on the spot, and it's not fair. But
no, it's good. It's something to think about.
But it also, it's also interesting because what emerges. So, people like I work in copywriting, and people say, oh, well, can you write me something, and I'll write it. And they'll come back to me the next day and they say, what do you think of this? And I'll be like, well, I'll change this and change that. And they say, yeah, but you wrote this yesterday. Shouldn't it be okay? I'm like, I don't know. I mean, ask me any day of the week, my opinion will change. And shouldn't you have the permission and the latitude to decide to reinvent yourself? So, for example, when I say, how do you want to put yourself to the world? Well, right now, it could be right now, ...
Change tomorrow, right? What kind of poetry do you write?
I haven't in a long time. I live my poetry. How's that? And it's more about it's about being in the creative moment. So, is life really a gift? Really? Can you make every second count? That's the whole point of the podcast. So, if you like what you've seen and you're inspired, because that really is my mission, then please give it a like, subscribe, and share.
Shooting it raw?
Yes. Shooting.